Hi everyone, my name is Marie and I'm an artist mostly in oil and watercolor, and I'm new to gouache and want to share my process with you. So for any beginners out there, I can share a few tips that I found helpful that maybe will help you all too. So let's get started. So I wanted to share more about the supplies that I use for this painting. So I took a photo of the paints and also paintbrush that I used. And it's mainly Winsor & Newton and M. Graham designer gouache. And also I used a lower quality Pebeo white gouache because I used so much of it. And for this painting, I decided to do a limited palette of the primary colors and also used a 1/2 inch flat brush. And I wanted to share the color wheel. I painted it like a color triangle, so it shows the primary colors more distinctively, and you can see the different variety of colors that you can mix with just those three primaries. So it's pretty cool to make these kind of color wheels for you to experiment. The last time that I had painted a color wheel was back in college, probably 20 years ago. So I think it was due for me to paint one. I also wanted to add that it's really handy to have this color wheel beside you while you work, because then if you want a certain color, you can pinpoint it on this wheel and you'll know which primaries to mix with it. So I find it pretty handy, so I suggest you to have it on hand. So I'll post the original reference photo here so you can see it throughout the whole video. I find that really useful to have displayed the whole time that I paint, because then you can see why I chose certain colors. The photo was from Pixabay, a royalty-free site that lets you use their photos. So I'm really grateful that I found this particular photo. So I started with the lightest part of the waterfall using permanent white and a little bit of cadmium yellow. And where the mist is, I saw that it was a little pinkish, so I used permanent white with a little bit of alizarin crimson. And I saw on the right side of the falls that that area was in shadow, and I saw that it was a darker pink, so I made the values darker on that side. Right now I'm only in the blocking phase, so even if I get the values wrong, I just go back and after I've set the first layer down and just paint over it to correct my value in color. I noticed that this area was a nice light lavender, so I mixed the phthalo blue with alizarin crimson with mostly white to get this really nice color. So what I try to do is I work in sections and I check to see what's the most predominant color in that section, and then I try to mix that color and paint it and block the whole painting that way. And then I'll go over it and break up each bulky section with more details. So I'll keep the video going and just show you different segments of the video, just to show you how I blocked the whole painting. And it's basically the same thing that I explained, just studying what's the color that's the most predominant in that area and then block it off. While I'm blocking out the painting, I also wanted to mention that it gets really ugly before it gets better. So if you're new to painting at all, it always looks kind of horrendous. And to kind of get over that and to just trust that it's going to come together in the end. So I start to lay out the darkest values using a mixture of the blue and the red to make a purple, and I added a bit of yellow to make it more of a greenish tone. And you'll see I keep layering and I keep adding layers, and that's what I had read, that it's the magic of gouache is through layering, and it's different with watercolor, completely different. But I find that the color becomes more richer with each layer, so you can try to practice that on your own and see the difference between one layer of painting versus a few layers on top of the first layer. So here I am painting the rocks that are in the background, and I go all around the painting and I jump back and forth, just adding details as I notice them that they need to be added. I also, when I mix a certain color and I see on another part of this painting has the same color, I'll paint that area too, just to save time. So just adding the white details to break up the blocking that I did of the water with the white waves using permanent white. I use the cheaper brand, and I find that it doesn't do the job quite as well as the designer series. So I also have a Winsor and Newton white gouache, and I find it's a very, very brilliant white, whereas the Pebeo one is a little bit chalky and yellow. So you can tell there's a huge difference. I just wanted to mention that in case there were others that were curious about the different brands and the different levels of quality. And on the right side of the waterfall, there seems to be some vertical blue stripes. So I made kind of like a teal, almost greenish hue. And then I tried to copy what I saw on the photo. I found that it was a little bit too harsh, so I went over that afterwards. It kind of looked a little bit strange that way. So that's the thing about gouache, at least you can keep going over it and correcting anything that you don't see is working. So I try to give a bit of texture to the mist that I saw happening in front of the falls, and just using permanent white, and also just trying to make it almost like a 3D. I found that the painting of the falls is really tricky. It's my first time painting waterfalls, and I really appreciate these artists who paint waterfalls on a regular basis. It's not something that I do or do that well, but so this is a good attempt from me trying to paint waterfalls. So I left that area on the left for that tiny little boat that you see. It's amazing with the perspective that, the mass of this Niagara Falls compared to this boat that's probably really huge. It just shows some sort of perspective that, of the grandeur of Niagara Falls. So I really like that this picture had a boat in it, just so you can see the scale representation. It was also a really cute boat. And with this bigger brush, just to paint a boat was so simple, and it's amazing how you can just figuratively portray a boat very simply. So I didn't show this clip of me painting the left side over with permanent white. I found that the left side of the falls was too yellow in the first wash, so I had to paint over it, and I kind of like that result. And now I'm just defining more of the shadows on the right side with more blue and white. And here I rework the group of trees at the bottom, and I just keep reworking, keep mixing yellow and blue with a bit of red, and if I want it lighter, a little bit of white, just to make a variation of values in these trees and make it look as most like the photo as possible. They kind of look like little broccolis. I'll probably need a bit more practice in it, but that's what I just keep doing until I'm satisfied. So here is the finished piece. It took me a few hours to do, but I'm really happy with it. It was a really challenging painting to do of Niagara Falls, so I'm kind of happy with it, and I learned a lot from this experience, as with all of the other paintings that I've done before this one. You can also see the little tiny ant people on the street that I didn't film. Yeah, it was really interesting to paint with a limited palette too. I also painted a little mini version in gouache as a warm-up before this larger version, and I just wanted to share it with you here. I painted this on Instagram Live, and I usually do these sessions on Sunday afternoon. So if you were ever curious on how I painted these minis, you can check me out at M Santos Art on Instagram. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned some tips. I for sure learned more on painting gouache and also how to talk in front of a camera. So I have other videos if you're interested. I've posted some with commentary, so you can check those out. And if you did enjoy this video, please like and subscribe. I'll be posting 2 videos a week, I'm hoping, and just give you more content. So I really appreciate that you watched this long, and I'm very impressed, and I'll see you on my next video. So I hope you all have a good week. Bye.